Good morning. Hope you're having a great start to your week. Today's the first day of spring. The hope of longer days, brighter sun, and beautiful weather come to mind. You know, today I read there's this thing they do every year where they rate the happiest countries in the world. And we're always perplexed because even last year Israel came in at number 9 in the entire world, ahead of the United States, ahead of the UK, ahead of Europe. But this year, Israel jumped from number 9 to number 4. This was just in the news today. Number 4 in the world. And you think, how could it happen? They deal with terror every day. Look at the chaos. Look at the demonstrations. Look at the fighting going on. Yet, they're the 4th happiest country in the world. And I think that the answer might come from this week's Torah portion. And maybe, if we thought about this message that the Rebbe taught many years ago, it'll also help us bring Jews together in the Holy Land of Israel. This week we begin the book of Leviticus. And the book of Leviticus, we begin with the word Vayikra. In Hebrew it's called Vayikra, and God called to Moses. It's the words that happened as Moses is ready to erect the tabernacle, and God's divine presence, His Shekhinah, will come down for the first time. But if you know, in the Hebrew alphabet, we have regular size letters, we have extra large, like capped letters, and then we have miniature letters. And in the word Vayikra, the first alef, which is that last letter in the word, and God called him, is very small. And in every Torah, all over the world, in every scroll, in every Bible, in every 5 books of Moses, you'll find that little aleph. Yet, in Devrei Hayamim, in the book of Chronicles, it starts off with Adam, Shes, and Enosh, where it gives us the history of civilization of the Jewish people of the world for the next 3,400 years. Over there, the aleph is a big aleph for Adam, an extra large one. And the question is, why the difference? And if I may, I want to share with you something that the Rebbe wrote in a letter. It said in a talk on Parshas Vayikra 5/7/4/1/1981. And the Rebbe says there's a big difference between the big aleph and the small aleph like this. When God calls Moses, the aleph is small. But when we chronicle the history of civilization, of humanity, and impacting the world, the aleph is big. Because the Rebbe says the same question you have with the big aleph and the small aleph, you can have about Passover. We're about to come to Passover. In 2 weeks from Wednesday night, you'll be sitting at the Seder. We're told to eat matzah because you have to be humble and we have to have humility. Yet at the same point, we're told to sit like kings. We recline. We bring out all the fine silver and the goblets. What's going on? Are we supposed to be humble? Or are we supposed to be proud and like kings and queens? And the answer the Rebbe says that these two ideas are not mutually exclusive. Actually, one comes from the other. Because there's 2 types of humility and there's 2 types of pride. There's humility. A person says, I'm a nobody, I'm insignificant, I'm a little nothing, a speck of dirt on this world, who cares what I do, it doesn't make a difference who I am. And then there's the humility, knowing that I'm in the presence of God, knowing that I'm an ambassador of God, that God instructed me and gave me the power to change this world. Me, this little nobody, look, God called upon me. The first humility is a lack of confidence, is a lack of the ability to impact. The second humility is a humility that makes you strong, that makes you know your mission and your value in this world. And the same is true with arrogance. There's the arrogance that says, I'm everything, I'm the only one, it's all about me. And then there's a healthy dose of self-confidence, which reminds me again where my humility came from. My humility was knowing that I'm in the presence of God, but being in the presence of God, there's also knowing the power of what I can accomplish. It's not an arrogance. It's not bragging. You know, in 1986, there were 2 ships that collided in the Black Sea. And later on, they found out that it wasn't a technology issue. It was literally both captains saw the other ship coming, but each one wanted the other one to turn first. Why should I turn course? And by the time they came to their senses and let go of their arrogance, it was too late. Abraham says, Anochi afa ve'efer, I am but dust and dirt. Yet Abraham negotiates with God to protect the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. If there's righteous people there. Moses, who the Torah says was the most humble person. Yet Moses says, God, either forgive the Jewish people or erase me from my Torah. Because their humility didn't stem from being insignificant. It stemmed from being in the presence of God. But yet that same humility allowed them to have the self-confidence to realize what God expected them to accomplish. And that's why the Rebbe says when it's Vayikra, when God calls Moses, the alef is small. Because in the presence of God, we're humble. We realize that we're in the presence of God. But when it chronicles the history of humanity and what our obligation to do in this world, to change this world is, the alef is extra large. Because we need that strength. We need that power to be proud. You know, this is one of my favorite thoughts. It's from Simcha Bonim Abshichste, one of the great Chassidic masters. I've told you this before. But he says that every day he walks around with 2 notes in his pocket. In one pocket, he has a note that said, I am but dust and earth. In the other pocket, he has a note that says, the world was created for me, which is what we say in Ethics of Our Fathers. He says whenever he feels like he might be getting arrogant, he pulls out the note that says, I am but dust and earth, to remind him to be humble in the presence of God. And whenever he doesn't feel he has enough value of character, he pulls out the note that says, the world was created for me. A healthy dose of happiness comes from knowing that we're in the presence of God, knowing that we have a mission from God, giving us that self-confidence to be who we are, yet giving us the humility we need. And maybe, just maybe, that's the greatest medicine they need in Israel. We have to be able to be humble, knowing that we're in the land that God gave us, knowing that we need to be humble, that we need to recognize the gift that God gave us. Yet it doesn't mean we gave us, yet it doesn't mean that we have to give up on who we are and the opinions we have and the values we have. Today, 31 years ago, was the day that my dear Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, spoke for the last time before he had a stroke, which led to his passing 2 years later. And Jonathan Sachs remarks that he never met someone as humble as the Rebbe. Yet the Rebbe walked with nobility, with pride, with character, but he was also so humble. And as Jonathan Sachs put it, it taught me, he says, that humility is not thinking you are small. It is thinking that other people have greatness within them too. Oh, how we miss this in Israel, in what's going on this moment. But oh, how we have it there with all the happiness and joy that people do have. May Hashem give us to be able to get that strength and that character, and to be able to have the big alef and the small alef and know when to use each one. Have a great day.